right? Not only impeachment, the Supreme Court case on confidential fund. I mean, how are you looking at it from that angle?
Well, she might be daring Congress to give her a 1 peso budget. I mean, and she plays the part of being
Big thing.
oppressed by Congress. Uh, but I think they'll give him just enough budget to run the office. No, but all of those other perks like having your own DSWD to give money away, that might not be given to her.
So tatanggalin lahat ng mga duplications na meron siya
Yes,
na pwede gawin ng ibang ahensya. I mean, she can have
that's
a
right.
quote-unquote Lenny budget, right? Lenny budget. Yung lean na
Very
budget ni
lean.
Lenny, di ba?
Yeah, that means she will have to, uh, like Lenny, ask for donations if she wants to have projects.
Right. So looks like at least we have a precedence. At least lucky for her, there's the Lenny model. Ibang usapan kung she has the competence of Lenny or COA level transparency of Lenny. Now, before we get bashed for too much talking about Dutertes, I want to ask one last question on this before we transition to Marcos and West Philippine Sea Justice. Again, how did Davao end up with Duterte so on top? I mean, Davao has produced people like you. I mean, the Nograleses are not necessarily the paragon of progressive politics, but I mean, how come, like, how did Davao become synonymous with Dutertes? I mean, isn't that frustrating? I mean, ako, as an Ilocano, when people equate us to Marcos, it's parang hindi. I mean, we have so many other great Ilocanos, right? But I suppose for Davao people, some of them are wondering, why do you equate us to the Dutertes? And from the outside, why are the Dutertes the only game in town?
The secret of the Duterte, I'll tell you, it's the confidential funds. Because the old man Duterte invented that. He was the first mayor, the first LGU official to give himself, through his budget, passed by his own city council, a confidential fund. And it grew over the years. And when Sarah was the last time she was mayor, it was almost $500,000,000 in confidential funds. You can just imagine what you can do with that. I mean, you can put all the spouses or children of all barangay chairs to in your payroll, and so you'll never lose in a single barangay. That's really the secret of the political power of the Dutertes. It's a confidential fund.
Right. No money, no honey. So as their funds get squeezed, are you saying that naturally their ability to flex their muscle will also be affected, no?
Well, well, right now, they still have confidential funds in the budget of the city because the Supreme Court has not acted on our petition. I was one of the petitioners there, questioning the constitutionality of these confidential funds.
That's very good point, Justice. I mean, of course, Sonny will say it's that money plus the muscle, which is, what we're referring to, the other DDS, right? The original permutation. Justice, now let's talk about the administration right now. Kasi binabash na tayo na masyado daw tayong Duterte haters. Gusto ko pa naman bumalik sa Davao. Na-miss ko pa naman ng Davao. I don't know about you, Justice, but I miss Davao. Let's talk about the Philhealth issue because this is a big problem. And kanina lang I was with a mechanic friend of mine and he was telling me about yung flood control issue, bakit hindi daw pinag-usapan, bakit puro mga Dutertes ang pinag-usapan, bakit hindi pinag-usapan yung kapalpakan ng mga flood control. Ilang billions ang ginastos natin. Yung nakatakas si Alice ko, si Kibuloy hindi pa nahuli, and then of course is PhilHealth issue. Napaka laking skandalo ito kung totoo talaga yung mga ibang reports. So Justice, can you remind us of the open letter? Was that an open letter you sent? I mean, the last time you had an open letter, it worked, right? Yung Pogo ban. So you never know. Baka lucky number 2 na naman tayo.
Well, the basic thing here, there are two principles involved. No? Under the Constitution, in the executive branch, it's only the president who can transfer savings from one item in the budget to another item in the budget. It cannot be exercised by any other executive official. So what they did was what Congress did in the General Appropriations Act was to authorize the Secretary of Finance to transfer savings. They call it excess funds, but that's the same as savings from from one item to another to fund the unprogrammed appropriations. Because what they did was like the modernization of the AFP, they did not fund it. But that's really necessary because
Exactly.
it's a matter of national survival. But they did not fund it. What they funded were their uh, pork barrel projects and lodged these funds in the Department of Public Works. So now their pork barrel has been funded, but the national defense has not been funded in terms of modernization. So they authorized the Secretary of Finance to scoop the savings in
This is Recto.
Philhealth and
This is
other
Recto. This
GOCs
is Ralph
and
Recto.
transfer it to fund the modernization, to fund the salaries of health workers during COVID. Uh, and so that's the problem. First, the authorization in the GA8 for the Secretary of Finance to do this is unconstitutional because it's only the president who can do it. Second, there's a provision in the Constitution which says uh, money raised to taxation for a special purpose cannot be used for any other purpose unless the purpose has been accomplished or the Congress has abandoned it. Like Philhealth, the Philhealth funds come from excise taxes. It says there in the
Right.
Internal Revenue Code, in the excise taxes, let's say 15% shall go to the Philhealth for universal health services. So that is a special fund. It cannot, no, even the president cannot transfer those funds to any other item. Even the president himself, who has the power to transfer, cannot do that because there's a constitutional provision which says it cannot be transferred. That's one of the exceptions on the authority to transfer funds. Uh, so there are two provisions of the Constitution that are violated here. Uh, they authorize the Secretary of Finance to do the transfer when it should only be the president. And second, they allowed the Secretary of Finance transferred special funds which cannot be transferred because these funds were raised through specific taxation. So
Hmm.
they will have a problem because it's just too blatant the violation, no. Uh, so I don't see how they can get away from this,
Right.
and
What do you
and
mean? Justice, isn't there a way for them to correct it, to reverse course? I mean, uh, as the ship sailed, I mean, in terms of the mistake or
well, what they can do is to authorize. Well, but it's already done. It's already in the GAA, no, and they already transferred. They transferred already about as far as I can recall, from Philhealth, they made two transfers, about 30 billion already. And that would constitute actually technical malversation because uh,
so my
when you
criminal
use
liability,
public
you're saying?
funds, yeah, because when you use public funds for a purpose other than that intended by law, that's technical malversation. And the amount is more than 50 million. So that's really plunder if it done more than once. So it's they transferred twice already. So I think they have to be very careful about this.
Yeah, and obviously politically, this is going to be weaponized by the other side. Justice
Yeah.
Ano
In fact, Duterte is already using this.
and
Uh,
Bongo in the Senate, right?
yeah,
He's
Bongo,
raising it.
they're
Yeah.
already using this. They will use it against the administration, and it's really it will hurt them because the people will see that this is supposed to be for their uh, health needs, for their medical needs, and it's being transferred.
So Justice, ano ba tayo? Team Kadiliman or Team Kasamaan? You saw that? Yung kay Harry Roque. Hindi po to ay laban ng Duterte at Marcos. Ito po ay laban ng Kadiliman, ay! Sumagot, kasamaan! Mahirap pumili
No,
dyan.
I think they will come to their senses here and do what is right because I think they will surely there will be a blowback here. You know, the people will really will get mad, and I don't think they want the people to be mad at them.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, if there's one thing I would give to BBM is he's more capable of recalibrating and swabbing his way than any of the Dutertes, right? Parang the Dutertes, the more you criticize, the more they dig in, di ba? At least si BBM, you could see he could recalibrate whether sa Maharlika Fund, yung confidential fund ni Sara, etc. So let's see kung saan mapunta itong meow-meow na situation na nila ito. Kasi just the reason I ask you about you raised the malversation and plunder issues because I was wondering kung baka mapunta lang tayo dun sa DAP situation the time you were in the Supreme Court at essentially, well, it was more than a slap on the wrist when you declared unconstitutional yung fund realignment under Pinoy's administration, right? But there was no criminal liability back then. Nevertheless, it was very politically toxic, and I think it did cost Pinoy his good governance credentials.
Yeah, well, because uh, there's a principle that as long as that law has not been declared unconstitutional, you can rely on it in good faith. But here, you cannot claim good faith anymore because the
By
case has been
President.
filed, and then you keep on transferring. Maybe for the transfers made before the case has been filed, you can claim good faith. But if you make your transfers now, it's difficult to claim good faith because you've been appraised, you've been informed already about this unconstitutionality. So what they should do is to stop. Or if I were
Because
this
they could
the
say that, well, we have a different legal interpretation and we wouldn't make any change in our judgment unless there's a court ruling on this. I mean, can they make
well,
that?
they can do that, but they're taking a risk
And the
because
politics, obviously.
the court might say, "Oh, you were already informed, and you still continued to make those transfers." So, why will you take such a risk when the penalty is so high?
And exactly, why would they take that risk, Justice Garvey? Is this the pressure for midterm elections we're talking? What is going on?
Yeah, but if you are the well, if I were the advisor, legal advisor, I would say first of all, it's very clear it's unconstitutional because it's only the president who can effect a transfer, and it's a special fund. So it's, I mean, uh, you can claim good faith maybe before the case has been filed, but now that the case has been filed, you should, show some caution already. Should be cautious already.
Exactly. But in case there is a sacrificial lamb option for BBM, right? He can make another head roll, right? Instead of his own. I mean, for
Well,
political damage control.
yeah. Well, now they can still control it because they made a transfer. I don't think the funds have been used yet. They can say, okay, the transfer is made, but don't touch that until the case is decided by the Supreme Court. That should be the prudent thing to do.
Yes, yeah, the prudential approach. Justice, the other, of course, the reason I talk about this letter is because gusto ko balikan yung first open letter or first major open letter mo kay BBM which worked, which is the Pogo ban. What is the situation since then? Kasi may nakikita tayong issues about reclassification of some of these Pogos. Ay, hindi naman kami Pogo. I don't know. Gaming, charot-charot kami. And then this Alice Go, nakaalis na pala talaga si Alice Go. And this new chapter of investigation with Cassandra Ong and all of this, stream of characters.
Well, what the PAGCOR is saying is there are legitimate POGOs and we should allow them. Well, I will grant that there are legitimate POGOs,
That's
but
not an
not
oxymoron. Legitimate
but
Pogo.
not Pogos that claim that their market is China, because we know that they cannot operate in China. They cannot, because our condition is that the condition of PAGCOR is you can only operate in a country that allows gambling. But we all know gambling is banned in China. So all of these pogos that claim that their market is China should be closed because there's no way they can operate legally in China. And they cannot comply with the condition of PAGCOR that they must have a legitimate market. Now, there may be some countries where uh, uh, gambling is allowed, maybe in the US, but I don't think they they will. For me, let's say, for example, Malaysia, they allow gambling. In Genting, there's Genting Heights, there are casinos there. But for Malaysia, they would say, okay, you can have online, but you must register here because we want to tax you. We don't want you to operate in the Philippines. The Philippines will tax you, but all the gamblers are in Malaysia. Of course, that's common sense. So I don't see a situation where they will say, "Oh, we are operating in Malaysia, but our headquarters are here, and we are getting permits from PAGCOR." But they will be required also to register in Malaysia because Malaysia wants to capture their
Share of the market.
earnings to tax. So it doesn't make sense for them to say, "Oh, we will ask PAGCOR for a license. We will operate by online. Our market is Malaysia." It doesn't work that way. They will be
Sorry,
taxed in Malaysia,
acrobatic.
and
Yeah.
and if they are taxed in two jurisdictions, then why allow yourself to be taxed in two jurisdictions? You might as well just operate in Malaysia.
I mean, that's a weird thing. I mean, I was wondering also maybe some of these pogos will do like split it, like split the difference. Like they will do 50% in China, 40%, I don't know, in whatever other country, Caribbean. But still, for you, as long as there's even one dose of operation in China, pogo pa rin yan. I mean, illegal pogo pa rin
Yeah,
yan.
illegal yan because our condition is that you can operate provided your market allows you to. They do not ban gambling. That country where you operate does not ban gambling. We all know that you cannot gamble in China.
So even if 2% of their operation is to China, let's say theoretically they diversified. Suddenly may meron na silang market, I don't know, in Puerto Rico or like, I don't know, Ghana or something. Illegal pa rin yan. Parang they're just playing games with
Well,
us.
they will have to show that in Puerto Rico or in Ghana, gambling is allowed.
Right. So they can play some game. The reason I ask is because I interviewed one of the heads of the special economic zones na my accusations na may ganun, and adamant na yung isa na no, this their operation has nothing to do with China, blah blah blah. And I was wondering, well, they can have like part in China, part in US, whatever. Now, just is going back to Alice Go. I mean, isn't this another embarrassment for the administration? I mean, this idea of heads will roll. Marcos has been saying this since nung sugar importation, scandal pa, but I'm not sure enough. I mean, if any head is even rolling to begin with, or any major, show of strength is being displayed on this front.
Well, we'll just have to see because he just said it recently. I understand that they have a name of a high-ranking official who helped the escape of Alice Go. But we'll see. I mean,
That will be the head that will roll.
yeah, yeah, we'll see if they will follow that up.
Now, on one area, I think this is where we go to the meat of our discussion, Justice. The one area where I think, in fairness, Marcos Jr. has shown some strength of character and all is the West Philippine Sea issue. And just the other day, we had the Americans here saying they're willing to do, I don't know, escorting our resupply mission. And General Bronner, once again, was very adamant that this is about our strategic agency, we can handle it on our own. What is your read of that? And then i-connect natin sa latest development na unfortunate nangyari sa Philippine Coast Guard and sa may Sabina Shoal area.
Well, I agree with General Browner that if we can handle it, let's handle it. So if he's saying that we have not tried everything yet, let's see how we can solve this ourselves. And if we cannot, then we will ask the U.S. to help us. So I think that's a fair statement to make because it won't be long. We will know because they just rammed again our ship today in Skoda Shoal, Sabina Shoal. So we will know if we can do it on our own.
Are we reaching the moment of truth whereby we have to come up with some radical new moves? So obviously arbitration is one thing you have in mind. Um, what are the operational things you have to bring in? Kasi ginawa na natin joint patrols, ginawa na natin in transparency initiative. We're trying, it's not like, in fairness to this administration, it's doing a lot of good things on this front. What else? What are the other packages of things you have to do at this point, Justice Carpio? What is your
Well,
rate of China doing?
well, I've been recommending that we bring another arbitration case for ramming our Coast Guard because that's a civilian vessel. And second, if they still persist, then we ask for the U.S. to patrol the to have a joint patrol at the same time that we deliver supplies to Teresa Magbanwa or via Sierra Madre. I mean, there will be a joint patrol to accompany the RORE missions.
You think that that could make the difference, Justice?
Yes, because that's how Malaysia and Indonesia were able to survey and drill despite threats by China. The US and Australian warships were in the same area in Malaysian EEZ at the time that the Malaysian survey and drill ship was there. So that
Right.
is really the template to successfully resupply and also to survey and drill.
And just speaking of this, I mean, you, you think China will not be especially over aggressive towards us? Do you think that there's a template really here that what works for Malaysia and Indonesia could also work for us?
Yes.
I mean, even if we're a US ally, even if, I mean, of course, it could work both ways, right? Even if we're pushing them on also on Taiwan question, or hindi kaya matakot ang China na we're gonna inspire more pushback by others if we keep on holding our ground? Hindi kaya panic?
Well, th- they were not able to stop the Malaysians. They were not able to stop the Indonesians. And with more reason, they cannot stop us because we have the arbitral award, we have a mutual defense treaty, and the Americans are ready to accompany, to have a joint patrol at the same time. So uh, I don't think they will stop us because the American warships will be just too overwhelming for them, no? And they will not attempt to. The last thing they would do is to also attack a U.S. warship. They will not do that.
Right.